Escape from the North End.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the regular meeting of council to order. Our clerk will be Ms. Sheila Gurry. I'd ask for a procedural motion to proceed in camera. Moved Councillor Thorpe, seconded Councillor Perino. All those in favor and any opposed? None. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the July 24th regular meeting of council to order. I'd like to first recognize that we are gathered on the traditional territory of the Snuneymuxw First Nation. Our clerk tonight will be Ms. Sheila Gurry. Tonight's regular meeting of council will be held in accordance with the Community Charter and Council Procedure Bylaw 2018, number 7272. The question period sign-up sheet is on the table by the double doors to my left for agenda items only. If during the meeting any member of the gallery has a question relating to an agenda item, please write down your name and the agenda item number on the sheet. And the first item on the agenda is the introduction of late items, Ms. Gurry, and we have several this evening.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Good evening. For agenda item 11, delegations unrelated to agenda items, we are adding Dave Lawrence regarding the proposed bus exchange for 500 Block Terminal Avenue, Willow Friday regarding proposed bus exchange for 500 Block Terminal Avenue, and Kevin Shaw regarding proposed bus exchange for 500 Block Terminal Avenue. We're also, for agenda item 12C, development permit application number DP1282 for 6201 Oliver Road, adding a delegation from Raymond DeBeeld. And we're adding a delegation from Drew Fisher from Westmark Construction Ltd. for item 12D, rezoning application number RA485 for 1044 and 1048 Old Victoria Road. And that's it, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gurry. A motion for adoption of the agenda is amended. Moved Councillor Thorpe, seconded Councillor Perino. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. A motion for adoption of the minutes is circulated. Moved Councillor Perino, seconded Councillor Panley. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Mayor's report tonight. I will try and be relatively brief as we have a fairly exciting aspect to tonight's council agenda. Firstly, some good news for the city in terms of labor stability, and I want to thank our negotiators and Blaine Gurry, president of CUPE Local 401. We have reached an agreement between our employees and the City of Nanaimo for a new 3-year collective agreement, and that is a very positive move for the city. On the other notes, we have the Nanaimo Primary Care Network survey. The Nanaimo Primary Care Network is looking for your input on primary health care in our region. They've launched a help survey to help better understand your health care needs, what you do and do not like about your experience, and what they can do to make the system work better for you and your community. The survey is anonymous and takes about 15 minutes to complete. Share your experiences and be entered to win a prize. Find a link to the survey in the city's weekly e-newsletter, My Nanaimo This Week. I want to remind everybody of the concerts in the park. The 4 final performances include on July 25th from 6 to 7, Gab Goslin will be performing his own songs as well as his favorite French cover songs at Colliery Dam Park. On July 28th from 6 to 7 p.m., the Grinning Barretts, a 7-piece Celtic punk rock band, will be performing at Maffeo Sutton Park. Performances in August include folk artist, Mick Sherritt, performing on Tuesday, August 1st at Westwood Lake, and details of a rap hip-hop artist who will be performing in the Bowen Park Amphitheatre on Wednesday, August 16th. All of these are free to attend, so please feel free to come. We've had 2 very important weekends as far as summer festivities are in the City of Nanaimo. We've just finished Bathtub Weekend, and there previously, of course, was the Nanaimo Child Development Center Silly Boat Contest. And I just want to express to all the people who came out to support both these things and volunteered, and all those volunteers who continued to make these important events in our summer, express gratitude on behalf of all of the citizens of Nanaimo who continue to enjoy the benefit of both the fun and the important work of the Child Development Center. And it's fairly obvious tonight I'm wearing some council bling, and it's not because I'm feeling important tonight. It's because of the, how shall I say, the outstanding audience of very athletic, active, and interested citizens who are gathered here tonight for the next item on the agenda, which is the 2022 Civic Sport and Culture Merit Awards. Another aspect of COVID that's lingered with us is we haven't been able to do this for a while, and so it really is quite wonderful to see all of you here tonight. The bad news is that I will be out there getting my photo taken, which is sad for me because I won't be in here with you. As you come out, we'll do the photo thing, and as my wife once said so kindly, you have a face for radio. Having said that, and moving on to the agenda item, I'm delighted to announce that Councillor Thorpe, with the assistance of Councillors Manley and Eastmere, will be conducting the ceremonies in here. Councillor Thorpe, as many of you know, is our longest-serving member of council, but also the author of the Thorpe Report, for those of you who still get your fingers blackened with newsprint, and God bless each and every one of you for doing so, because we need a town newspaper. And I'm going to invite now Councillor Perino, who is going to, in her position as acting mayor, take over the running of the meeting for the time being. And I promise not to stay outside for more than 2 or 3 hours until council agenda is finished, of course. But one more thing, sincerely, congratulations to all of you. It's important for the city. You reflect the enthusiasm and vibrancy that drives this community, and reflects also the fact that this town has a great range of culture and interests, and these awards tonight are important and reflect the community's priorities, and the Sports Hall of Fame at the Nanaimo Museum, of course, reflect also this community's long outstanding interest in sport. So again, congratulations. Over to you, Councillor Perino. I'll exit stage left.
So now he's gone, we can party, right? Is that acceptable? All right, Ms. Gurry, can you take us through or are we simply going to start with the presentations? Is that?
Yes, so Councillor Thorpe can
Councillor
get
Thorpe.
up and he can start the proceedings, and I think Councillors Manley and Eastmere are going to help hand out
Wonderful.
items at the table.
Wonderful, thank you.
All right, as we get organized, first of all, thank you very much, Your Worship, and welcome, everybody. I've never seen chambers this crowded. Oh, maybe when we had the Colliery Dam issue, but this is a much friendlier crowd, I think. It is, always a great pleasure to recognize talent in the city of Nanaimo, and we absolutely have so much of it. We are very, very fortunate, and we are very proud to be able to recognize it this evening. So it's my absolute pleasure to MC this portion of the program as we present the Civic Sport Merit Awards and also some Arts and Culture Merit Awards. And just by way of background, City Council presents certificates of congratulations and medallions to individuals, groups, teams, and clubs who through their endeavor have brought recognition on a provincial, a Western Canadian, a national, or international level to our city. Now, as a result of the pandemic, we have not been able to hold this ceremony. In fact, this is the first time in 3 years, so we're catching up tonight, and that's why we have so many people here that we want to recognize. It is going to take us a little while, but we'll move through things as efficiently as possible. Tonight, we are recognizing a total of 122 individuals who have brought honor to our city through their outstanding performances. These are all gold medal winners at provincial or higher levels of competition. So great to see some old friends here in the audience tonight, and I'm really thrilled that everybody could come and join us. So a little housekeeping before we get started. Through the ceremony, each group of recipients will be called to the front, and I'll ask you to come down into this area just to my right, and then I will name individual winners individually in alphabetical order if there are several from a team, and they will proceed just in front of the table beside me here. Councillor Manley and Councillor Eastmuir will present each winner with a medallion, an engraved medallion, and a certificate. And then following that, if the winners could move out to my left, out the double doors there, as the mayor indicated, and have a photo opportunity with Mayor Krogh. And then when we've gone through everybody, we're actually going to try and do one large group photo with all the winners. That's going to be a challenge, but we'll see how that goes. So that said, I'll just mention that we have a number of winners that were not able, one reason or another, to attend this evening, and that's understandable, but I will acknowledge them by mentioning their names in any case. So we're going to start with some of the Sport Merit Awards, and the first medal presentations are for gold medal winners at the provincial level, people who represented Nanaimo at the 2002 55-plus BC Games. I believe those were held in Kamloops. And I'll just mention that we are very excited that Nanaimo will be hosting the 2025 55-plus games here in town. So we're really looking forward to that already. So we're going to get started. I'm going to ask the gold medalists from the 2002 55-plus BC Games to come down. Gold medal winners from archery, badminton, and darts. If you would come into this area, I think we have at least one person here. And I'm guessing that this is Bob O'Brien. Bob, congratulations. Bob was, please come ahead. Bob was a gold medal winner in archery for target recurve bow with sight. I understand that Michael Colliery is not able to be here this evening, and if something has changed and the person is here, please let me know right away. But Michael was a winner in badminton for singles open. Brent Dunlop, did I see Brent coming in? He wasn't sure if he could make it this evening. We'll acknowledge that Brent was a winner in badminton singles competitive. And Bill Harney is, I believe, not able to be here this evening, a gold medal winner in darts, a team of 4. So we'll move on to gold medalists for the Dragon Boat mixed 55 team. If you could come down here, please. And I know we have some members on hand. We're going to start with Marie Augusto. Marie, please come forward, get your recognition. David Bedeshi. Cheryl Dodge is here. Cheryl, please. Congratulations. And Michelle Dufault. Michelle. Other winners, I believe Susan Epp is not here this evening. The same with Donna Fraser, George Hinchcliffe. Oh, I'm sorry, George? Yes, of course, please, come forward. Did I miss you? Glad you could make it, George. Michelle Lychak, I don't believe is here. Levon Patterson, I don't see, my next door neighbor. Jim Pierce, please, Jim. Congratulations. Michael Tessier was another gold medal winner, also Carol Warden, and we have Holly Wiley. No, we don't have Holly Wiley. Ladies, who have we got? And this is from Dragon Boat Mixed 55?
And
What is it again?
Denise
Denise
Deck.
Deck and Patricia Ganzar. Please acknowledge them, ladies and gentlemen. We'll make sure to get those medallions and certificates. Next, the gold medalists from the men's 75-plus hockey team. If you could come down in front of me. Congratulations, gentlemen. We're going to start with Jack Broom. We'll go alphabetically. Jack, congratulations. Richard Fontaine. I'm not sure that Richard is here this evening. Tom Mullen. Tom. Congratulations. And then we have Brian Murphy. Brian, congratulations. Other winners from the team, Robert Simpson, Paul Sinclair, Len Slogar. Len, great to see you. And we have Peter Westaway. Peter, congratulations. And Henry Weeb. Henry. Nice to see you. Next, if I could get the gold medalists from the men's 55-plus soccer team to come down into this area, please. I saw at least a couple here. Gold medals, men's 55 soccer. Bruce Benedict was unable to join us this evening, but really pleased that Ian Cook is here. Ian, please come forward. See, Ian, that coaching I gave you all those years ago, it finally paid off. Okay, all right, move on, move on. Also, I'd like to recognize from the team Gurnak Dial, Rick Henderson, and Gunnar Meyer. Please come forward. And I'll also acknowledge Kim Nagra, Mark Nagra, and Paul Parsley. Next, gold medalists from the men's 65-plus soccer team. I believe there are 2 or 3 with us this evening. Not seeing anybody jumping to their feet, though. We'll maybe just give them a second. All right, let's acknowledge, though, 65-plus soccer gold medal winners John Eby, Paul Ellison, Tony Fitterer, Anup Kang, Alfredo Moon.
Excuse me. Oh, there. Yeah, it's 60s. 60s, not 65.
Oh, my notes say 65. Was it 60? Oh, well, my sincere apologies. You know, when you get to our stage in life, every year matters, so you have to be exact. All right, let's start again. 60-plus soccer team gold medal winners. I don't think John Eby's here. Paul Ellison, I don't believe, is here, or Tony Fitterer. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Anup, I don't see Anup. I was hoping I would see him this evening. Alfredo Moon. Alfredo, please come forward. Patrick Ing. Patrick. And Jeff Till. Jeff. Congratulations. And next we're going to have gold medalists from the women, and I'm really nervous. It says here 55 plus, but they really don't look 55 plus. Please come down, ladies. Yay. Really pleased to see some friends here. Sandy Dick, please come forward for your recognition. You're welcome. And we have Lori Miller. Congratulations, Lori. And Leslie White. Leslie, congratulations. Great to see you. And staying with the games, we'll have the gold medalists from swimming and track and field. Swimming and track and field. We had a gold medalist in swimming for the 25-meter backstroke, and that was Inge Hornby, who I don't believe is here this evening. And then several from track and field. Sandra Bissachur. Close enough. Sandra, please come forward. Sandra won gold in the 200 meters. Really pleased to see Denise Bonin here. Denise, congratulations. Gold medal in the 100 meters.
Wow.
And Sven Donaldson. Sven, congratulations to you. Sven was a gold medalist in the men's 70 to 74 high jump. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I've got a long list of names here, and these are gold medal winners from the 2022 Bantam Provincial Championships in Youth Football. The following team members and staff from the Nanaimo Seahawks, Football Nanaimo, if you would start to make your way down here, please. I have really noticed in the last 2 or 3 years, football Nanaimo has really been on the upswing in our community, and this is proof of their successful program. So we've got a lot of the team players and a lot of the coaching staff. I'm going to go through the names in alphabetical order, everybody, so if you could sort of be ready. I don't know who is here and who is not, so if I call your name, please just step forward. We're going to start with Tristan Aguilera. Tristan? Offensive coordinator and quarterback coach, Noah Atnikoff. Noah, thanks for being here. Marco Bassanello. Marco not here. Nolan Bedoin. How about Kenneth Bouvet? Kenneth. Elijah Burrell. James Christian, Jack Chutka, Christopher Saccone Torres. We'll keep trying. Ken Crichton, the lineman coach. Ken here? How about Dalton Creighton, assistant defensive coach? All right. Maxime Curry. And the team manager, Wanda Curry. Hi, Wanda. Thanks for being here. Liam Demaray. Liam. Colby Drover. Colby. Next, Nathan Fraser. No. Dylan Gilbert. Tristan Goheen. Trainer, Jackie Goheen. Leo Golob. We'll keep going. Dion Hovind. Dion. And the lineman coach, Derek Hovind. Xavier Incho. Congratulations, Xavier. Elijah Johnstone. Caden Kalki. Carter Keswick. Tristan Knight. Everly Knudsen. Everly. Ethan Crample. Ethan. Special teams coach, Kevin Crample. Let's go to Braden Lombardi. Braden. Parker Laughlin. Assistant head coach and defensive coordinator, Troy Lovitz. Congratulations, Troy. Trainer and kicking coach, Kaylee Mann. Kaylee. We have Eli Marcoux. Cameron McElroy. Dominic McRae. Hudson Menifee. Next, Peyton Morey. Cameron Morgan. How about Ethan Pritchard? Carter Quigg. Jesse Rosticky. Head coach Ashford Slowly. Ashford, congratulations. Dylan Spaven. Corbin Trudeau. Willem van Eck Veenstra. Connor Ward Moran and Jameson Wood. That is a very strong football contingent. Congratulations to all of them. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on to our next presentation. It's for gold medal winners at a provincial level. The following athletes represented Nanaimo at the 2002 BC Summer Swim Association Provincial Championships. And I'd ask those swimmers to come down. I believe we have 3 of them here. BC Summer Swim Association Provincial Champions. I have the names of Danielle Barbary, Danielle, thanks for being here. Danielle won gold medals in the 100-meter breaststroke, 200-meter medley regional relay, 200-meter freestyle relay, and the 200-meter medley relay. Next, Reese Deschambault. Reese. Another multiple winner, Reese won golds in the 100-meter butterfly, 200-meter medley regional relay, 200-meter freestyle relay, and the 200-meter medley relay. Congratulations. And Taylor McPherson. Taylor, congratulations. Gold medals in 100-meter backstroke, 200-meter freestyle relay, and 200-meter medley relay. Next, gold medal winners again at a provincial level, and these athletes represented Nanaimo at the 2022 Junior Boys Provincial Team Championships for 5-pin bowling. Could the bowlers please come down? And their coach. I've watched these young fellows perform, and they are good, and they've had some excellent coaching. First up, gold medal winner Corey Cooper. Coach Heather Phillips. Hi, Heather. And our other gold medal bowler is Grady Work. Grady. Now we move on to gold medal winners at a provincial level. These are people who represented our city at the 2022 BC Athletics Junior Development Track and Field Championships. Junior development is for ages 9 to 13. So could the track and field athletes please come down just to my right, please? I thought we had someone here, but apparently not. I'll recognize Tessa Bell, who won gold in pole vault. Thank you. Pole vault, high jump, and triple jump. And that means we're going to move on to some arts and culture merit awards. Our next presentation is for a gold medal winner at a provincial level, represented Nanaimo at the 2022 Mid-Island Festival of Performing Arts as a provincial level 3 ballet representative. And I believe Nadia Sertic is not able to be with us this evening, but let's give Nadia a round of applause. And I believe our next winner is with us. I'm very pleased about that. It's for a gold medal winner at a provincial level. This individual represented Nanaimo in 2021 at the Leo Awards for casting in a motion picture from Spotlight Academy. So, Jackie Casey, you're in the audience. Could you come down? I thought you were here. No, I must be mistaken. Jackie Casey, gold medal winner. And unfortunately, I don't believe our next recipient is with us this evening because it's a gold medal winner at the national level, represented Nanaimo at the 2022 Joey Awards for Canadian Youth Performing Arts, and that was Avery Dodd. Avery? Avery took gold for Best Senior Ballet Solo and Best Senior Tap Solo. Congratulations to Avery. Moving on, our next presentation, gold medal winners again at a national level. The following people represented Nanaimo at the CBC Music Class Challenge 2021, and they are members of the well-known local group Fidelium. So if the Fidelium members are here, please come down to my right. And I have a list of names. I see we have 4 representatives able to join us in person. I will go alphabetically, though. Olivia Crowhurst, I don't believe, is here. Oh, yes, she is. Great, Olivia. Please. And I think it was Alistair Day who's not able to join us this evening. Alistair Day was another winner from Fidelium. And then Noah Figuera. Nora, congratulations. Other members, Jeff Horrocks. Jeff, please. And Trish Horrocks. We have Lua Javaheri. Oh, who is this? Trish, I thought you were here. Trish Horrocks. Congratulations, Trish. Katie McCulloch is another member of Fidelium, I don't believe could make it tonight, as with Morgana Parsons and Ben Rayner, and also Mika Schneidery, close enough. Ava Shaw. Ava, please. And they also had Mia Stahuliak and Verena Wesler, members of Fidelium, gold medal winners. Councillor Manley, you're right. I am on the last page. We're getting close to the end, folks. But 2 important presentations left. Gold medal winner at a Western Canadian level. This athlete represented Nanaimo at the 2022 Western Canadian Artistic Gymnastics Championships. And would Mila Vanden Elsen please come forward? Congratulations, Mila. Gold medal winner, Western Canadians for Level 9 Senior Artistic Gymnastics Vault Finals. Well done. And finally, gold medal winner at an international level. This person represented our city at the 2022 World Highland Dance Championships. Would Annalise Lamb please come forward? Congratulations, Annalise. International gold medal for Highland Dance. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your patience this evening. I think it's really time well spent to acknowledge the talent that we do have in our city in terms of sports groups and also cultural, and groups that represent our city on a stage, whether it's provincial or Western Canadian or national, or as we've seen, even international. My thanks to Councillor Eastmere and Councillor Manley for helping, also to our staff who put this together. And I'll just remind, if you are in the audience because of the presentations, and you would like to stay for the rest of our exciting council meeting, you are most welcome to do so, but you are also welcome to leave through the rear doors if you would like. We are going to get one group photo with all of our winners, and then we will move on with the rest of our council meeting. So this concludes the award presentations for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of City Council, again, congratulations to everyone on their achievement, and thank you for attending. Have a good evening.
Okay, in the interest of time, we'll continue on with the council meeting. Say it ain't so. It is. However, there is nothing sweeter than seeing people win awards, so it's a very proud moment, very proud moment. Okay, we have no committee minutes tonight, but we do ask for a motion for the adoption of the consent items, if I could please. Councillor Armstrong to move, seconded by Councillor Eastmere. It takes a moment to get into the swing of it. Are there any concerns, questions, nothing to be removed? Okay, I'll ask the question then. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? No one's opposed. Motion is carried unanimously. We'll go straight into delegations if our speakers are here. Our first speaker for this evening is Mr. John Horn, Executive Director of Connective, and Andrew Ferguson, Connective as well, to provide council with information on Connective programs and services that are supported by the City of Nanaimo, including Rent Bank, rental supplements, restorative justice, and supportive housing at 285 Bordeaux. Thank you and welcome. Great to have you here, Mr. Horn.
Thank you very much. I'm not Andrew.
No, you don't look like Andrew, but that's okay. Tell me your name just so we know.
I'm Susan Clifton. I'm chair of the board of Connective Nanaimo.
Thank you. It's good to have you here, Ms. Clifton.
Well, thanks for having us tonight. We just wanted to come by and give you some updates on the investments that council and the taxpayers have made in programs and services that we deliver at Connective. For those who don't remember, Connective Support Society was formerly known as the Nanaimo Region John Howard Society.
Great.
We're here tonight as Connective Support Society, our new name.
It's helpful to know that. And you've got 5 minutes, so please feel free, take every second.
Okay. Is this the cue for changing the...
I believe so.
Thank you.
Okay.
So really, we just want to go with the return on investment. So the taxpayers have invested through you folks into our programs and services, and we'll start out with the Rent Bank, which is one that has been running for about 2 or 3 years now, and that's a very simple proposition. We loan money to people to pay the rent when they have an unforeseen circumstance or something goes awry in their world and they're not able to pay their rent. It's really about keeping people housed and keeping them in the place that they are so they don't land out in the streets and then have to go through a series of crises to find a new place. Yeah. The City of Nanaimo invested $90,000 in that in 2021, and between then and February 15th, we've helped 240 people pay the rent. So if you think about 240 people, when they come to us at Rent Bank, they're very much on their last legs, and this is really about saving their tenancy. So I will note that the city invested $90,000 and we've loaned out $139,000 to date. And we have lots of support from the BC government for this as well. Just to note that our clientele for this is not the regular Connective clientele. This is almost exclusively people who don't receive services from us, who come to us and then seek that Rent Bank through the web page that we have up and through the BC Rent Bank. So it's largely non-Connective clients we serve. So I'll skip to the next slide, which talks about our homelessness prevention. Council provides $45,000 for this function, and it helps us help people to pay the rent again. It's a rent subsidy that goes out through 2 programs, Housing First, or through our rental assistance program, and that's a program that's now, and we're helping currently 93 households, and we've helped, I think, somewhere around the neighborhood of 180 people have received help from us in this regard. So For $45,000, that's a pretty good return on investment, I thought, and it's again really about keeping people from bouncing out of the rental accommodation where they are, keeping them stably housed, which prevents the flow into homelessness for our communities. We have Restorative Justice. This is a program that you guys have been supporting since 2004, and annually you provide $50,000 through that, to the RCMP budget. And the RDN also invests annually $5,000 into that. So we thank you for that investment. That's going to be more prominent coming forward. We have a youth mentorship program which we're bringing forward to address the guns and gangs piece that's coming up. And so there's lots of things we're doing now that we expect to continue and to enhance as we go forward over the next year. Really for restorative justice novices, this is about keeping people out of the court system and out of the judicial system who have no business being in the judicial system. So we try to resolve things without the courts and polices, etc. But we also do hold people accountable, and they have to be accountable to their victims. So it's a different process than what you see in the court system. People have to, generally speaking, they're either in a circle which comes to a conclusion, or they're working with the people who have hurt them to resolve that hurt. So it's a different way of doing justice than what the judicial system offers. And we're quite proud of that one. It has amazing impacts. And again, we hope to see that have some impact on youth and youth mentorship in our community in the coming months. Code, many years ago, some social planner wrangled $90,000 at a council for the dental clinic downtown. That has been running since 2012, so I think that's a good return on investment. Last year, for example, we did $65,000 worth of dental care for folks who can't afford a dentist in the community, who don't have a plan, who really don't have the wherewithal to make traditional approach to dentist offices and to pay for their own dental care. That's still continuing to run after that's now 10 or 11 years that's been going, and we get a bit of money here and there, but it really is on the backs of the dentists in our community and volunteers, etc., and the staff that work for us, who work for much less than what they would get in the private sector. So we thank them, and we thank you for that initial investment, and I think it's had lots of great returns. Anyone who's had a toothache and needs it fixed now understands what it's like to be in dental pain, and that's what this clinic does, is address that all day long. So thank you for that. Probably the largest investment of all of the ones that you've provided to Connective is this project right here, which is the one at 285 Prideaux, known as Cornerstone. That is a 51-unit supportive housing project across the street from the police station and beside the old library there. The land was provided by the City of Nanaimo and the building provided by BC Housing. Connective Support Society will be the operators for that building, and that will be commencing sometime in September, October, when we expect the occupancy to happen. And so we're pleased to play a part in providing that kind of key housing for folks who are currently homeless or at risk of homelessness. And so we look forward to working with our municipal partners and others to ensuring we're a good fit in the neighborhood and that we provide a good quality of life and good care to the folks who are going to be housing in that building. So we appreciate the support on that project and look forward to many years of providing the housing for folks who are in dire need of that, and support services that go with that.
We're down to the last minute.
There you go. So what I'll do for the last minute is I'll turn it over to my board chair, Susan, and she'll just...
Thank you.
All right, these are the programs up here that Nanaimo does not fund. And there's a number there, but I'm going to only mention one today, and that's the one that's called Dwelling Place on this list. And there is a new name for it. It's now the Lakeside Courts Residence. And the reason I want to say thank you to council is that we had the mayor and Councillor Armstrong there today to attend a community meeting. It was a barbecue, and we're very grateful when members of council come to see us, come to see our facilities, and it does make a difference. You will note that the staff there were very happy to see you too, and also the residents. So I'm saying thank you for that.
Promise me you'll do it again next year, so those of us who are a little too injured this year will attend next year.
Thanks. So that's really what we came today, was just talk about the investments you've made, some of the return on those investments. We want to thank you for that support and for the permissive tax exemptions that as well you provide to many of us in the nonprofit sector. We talked a bit about the dwelling place. That's a project we took on just on our own spec, but in conversation with council members and mayor today, we're committed to looking for those innovative ways to create housing for folks that may not have other options in the community, who may be priced out of our community. So as we go forward, we'll be coming back before you to talk about other housing projects that we have in mind. And again, that's a key piece we see across the community, and we hope to play a role in providing additional and creative and innovative housing approaches to resolve some of the housing crises that people are in these days.
Are you up to some questions, Mr. Horn?
We absolutely are.
Council
As long as
question?
they're not too hard.
Yes, so we'll start with Councillor Armstrong.
Two questions and a comment. First of all, for my comment, thank you very much for hosting this afternoon. That was great. It was nice to see some of our seniors finally get some housing. They're a group that we often missed. I know I've had conversations with Councillor Manley, who sees too many seniors in their shelter, so it was nice to know that he was able to put a couple of his seniors there for permanent residency. So I want to thank you very much for that, and I hope we can do more along those lines because it's a great program. Really appreciate that. My questions, I'll put them together. In regards to restorative justice and code, do you receive any provincial funding?
For the restorative justice, we get provincial funding from the gaming folks and from several foundations. And it's a bit of a grab bag of funding we have to get together to make that program work. It's about 7 different funders and BC Gaming in a variety of places, including the civil forfeiture, which is the money taken from people who have committed crimes or whatever, right? So that does have about 7 different funders, and they're all...
Yeah, so for the restorative justice, because again, I'm a strong supporter in that, I've seen it work well, and I know that you guys have done a great job there. Is there something that we as council can do to try and get more funding for that program from the province? I noticed that we haven't increased funding in a while, but I mean, it stops a lot of people from using the justice system, and it really helps a lot, especially youth. I'm a strong supporter of that program for youth, so is there something that we could do to advocate more funding for that program?
Absolutely. We have submitted a request that indicates that the initial funding we received from that started in 2004 or something, and it hasn't changed since. So $50,000, that's not going on almost 18 years with no increase. And I think inflation has caught up a little bit over 18 years. So we're seeing the value of that contribution just eroded by inflation over time, and we've requested that that number be revised just to recognize the change in costs that have occurred over the last 18 years. So that request has gone to the City of Nanaimo for an increase in that budget of $50,000 to basically double it. So
And is there also an
support.
increase to the province?
Yeah. Yes.
That's who should be funding it all. Thank you.
Yeah, we are. We're seeking many sources, and it's a tough one to fund because it doesn't really fall into anyone's basket necessarily. So
Thank you.
it's a struggle. Yep. And the code, by the way, is the same thing. It's
Yeah, I
Ministry of
think
Health.
it's so sad that these such great programs they get such minuscule funding. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Eastmere and then Councillor Perino.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your presentation. I'm just really grateful for the work that Connective is doing in our community, tackling the housing issue from many different aspects. And I think the Rent Bank is a really interesting program that you're able to run, and I think it's super cool that in BC, everyone has access to a rent bank, no matter what community you live in now. So that's an amazing expansion. I just wondered, do you think that uptake on the rent bank is still sort of not where it could be if more people were to know about that program? And how are you finding that people are discovering the Nanaimo Rent Bank? Do we have local organizations who are helping to direct people to you when they're in need?
Yes, we work with local organizations, and we are planning an expansion of our communications strategy to let more people know about it. We've agreed to provide this service to Port Alberni and to Fino and Ucluelet as well. So we have a campaign to go on and let those folks know that there's a rent bank available to them. So we will conduct a campaign. One thing we're aware of is that we haven't quite got the reach into the Indigenous communities that we should. So same with First Nations, etc. So we're currently in discussions with our funders at the BC Rent Bank about how we might be better at that piece of the pie. And over the next little while, we'll put some added focus to that work and see how we might better partner with other organizations and folks to get better reach into those communities. So that's a second step we're going to take to enhance the profile of the rent bank.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to hear that. And just a follow-up, if I may, around when people are accessing the rent bank, because it's for those short-term, small-scale loans for no interest. Do you ever have access to grant programs or like rent subsidy programs that you can pivot people towards if they are not able to access the rent bank?
Yes, we do have rent subsidy programs. They're often quite fully subscribed because once people get a rent supplement, they tend to kind of hang on to it. So there's that. We do have other things that we do provide them. We had a grant program. We provided money for folks to pay the rent. That was a grant, not a loan. And we did that for a long time till we ran out of grant money, you know. And then we do have other options. We try to get them into affordable housing and into other areas where they're not paying as high a rent. So there's various things we do. There's not a lot. There's a lot of demand on those programs that are, you know, supportive of renters and a large, you know, demand and very small supply. So sometimes there's not a lot we can do for folks other than loan them money, or sometimes we can't even do that. So it is a tough spot, and there's probably more that could be done for the renters. It's a tough place to be.
And the subsidies that are overprescribed, are those like provincial subsidies?
We have federal and provincial subsidies that we give out, and so I think currently we have 94 subsidies we're running or something like that. So yeah, we have a fresh batch of subsidies coming from the federal government, so we'll add 10 more to our little portfolio of subsidies. But generally, like I said, when someone gets a subsidy, they tend to stick to it for a while because it's not as easy to just suddenly up your income.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see the numbers if you have people that you would, you know, who would be benefiting from a subsidy, but it's overprescribed. It'd be really interesting and helpful for us to have a sense of how many people aren't able to access these programs that they could benefit from.
I think a more fuller report is coming forward from staff in regards to these programs, and we'll try to make sure that those informations are included in that report. So
Amazing, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Perino.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I just wanted to say, sitting in the chair's position, I wanted to thank you for your presentation, Mr. Hornan. Connective has done some incredible work in the community, and I think that you are the glue that holds it all together. I've heard wonderful things, and just want to say thank you so much for what you do for our
and
community.
my board chair, don't forget her.
I know, we better praise her. She's the chair. Yeah, you bet. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right, not seeing other questions. Thank you so much for the presentation tonight. Appreciate you coming to council. The next delegation is Dave Lawrence, read the proposed bus exchange for 500 Block Terminal Avenue. Mr. Lawrence, you probably heard the drill. 5 minutes, come down, introduce yourself, and when there's a minute left, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Thanks for coming.
Hey, as you know, I'm Dave Lawrence. I'm here as the Victoria Crescent Association president. My delegations are here with me because of the construction beginning on Terminal Avenue between Esplanade and Commercial Street. Anytime now, mid-July, there'll be an announcement regarding moving the transit exchange to the 500 block of Terminal Avenue. We do not want to see that in our area. 4 years ago, I was part of a committee headed by Darren Moss and various people from the province and city planners, and we were to look at kind of the city plans for the next couple years regarding bike lanes, buses, problem intersections, parking downtown, all kinds of things. When buses were talked about then, 4 years ago, the talk of moving the bus exchange was on Wallace Street, across from the Tim Hortons, or Terminal Avenue, but more up kind of under the Bastion Street Bridge, or there was talk of just kind of leaving it where it was. We all discussed it. We all kind of agreed that, hey, let's just keep it where it is. That seems to be a good place. And that's where it was left. It wasn't any mention of putting it where the talk of putting it is. We really want you guys to pick another location. Not only that, it's just the fact that it is eliminating so much parking from our neighborhood. Victoria Crescent, all the businesses, you have Zen Revolution, Primary Skateboards, Zalatai, the CHLY studio, there's a card shop down there, lots of places parked there. Not only that, we have the Queen's parking lot, lots of bands park there when they perform at the Queen's. When we get a bigger named artist, they park their tour bus there. And not only that, though, you have the Queen staff that like to park there, so it's safe for them to get to their vehicles and get home at 2 in the morning or whenever the bars close. That's about it. That's all I have to say for right now.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the delegation? Not seeing any. I appreciate the presentation tonight.
Thank you.
Very good of you, Mr. Lawrence. And the next is Willow Friday on the proposed bus exchange for 500 Block Terminal Avenue. Ms. Friday, good evening, welcome. You know the drill. 5 minutes, and I'll let you know at 1 if you're still going.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Willow Friday. I own an art supply store a stone's throw away from the proposed bus exchange, and I'm here to express my concerns about it. Briefly, these will be safety in regard to the criminal element in the area, its location on a busy highway, how few buses it accommodates, the parking that is being removed that is critical to businesses in the area, and how we don't feel heard as a community that's being seriously affected by this. In regard to safety, which is something our community is desperate for the last 3 months, I think there's been about a stabbing outside my store per week. Just a few weeks ago, I was assaulted at 8:30 a.m. on a nice sunny morning by a man trying to break into my building. This has affected me greatly. Excuse me. And unfortunately, I am not alone in experiencing this. I am not sure why, but bus depots are hangout spots. Heck, when I was a teenager, I used to hang out at the Gordon Street Bus Exchange as a hippie, but those were much, much more innocent times. Now, there is a hard criminal element and a turf war being fought right here in our downtown. The proposed location is a recipe for disaster. Being located on a busy highway means when someone is attacked there, which in my 10 years of watching this area is not an if, but a when and how often, it will inevitably spill onto the highway, stopping the only thoroughfare through our downtown. I want to share that I'm a pro-bus user, but we currently do not have anywhere near the bus system that works for the majority of our city. It takes forever to get anywhere and is actually quite expensive if you compare it to other places. This depot only has space for 5 buses. If we're ever going to be the bus bike community that I would also love our city to be, our buses need to be running a lot more, and a tiny bus exchange does not lend to this. I'm actually surprised the regional transit system does not have a rule about putting exchanges on busy streets or highways. I also think where it currently is fantastic and should be developed into a full transportation hub for taxis, foot ferries, helijet, regular ferry traffic. Moving it would be a huge loss in investing in sustainable transportation. Nanaimo is a community blessed with so many talented people, as we saw earlier, in so many ways. It truly is amazing. Yet when major renovations to traffic flow happens, those of us who are affected, who live and work in the area, are not genuinely listened to. I went through this 2 years ago, just a similar project on Victoria Road that is in fact being altered to accommodate what is now happening. Those who live and work have eyes on the area every day, and we have insight, not just me in my area, but everywhere this happens. But instead, at the expense of taxpayers, consultants, probably from out of town, are hired to give a quick snapshot of an area, and then that info is used by the city to formulate their plans. A good example of this, typical communication, is the Queens, a cultural phenomenon that plays live music 7 days a week and has for many decades. I can't imagine what Nanaimo would be without them. They've put us on the map in many ways.
1 minute, please.
Perfect. They have been telling you that these parking spaces are integral to running their business, and so have many other businesses in the area. Let me tell you, parking is important. I'm in trouble with my business. I've been flooded out and I've been shut down for a month and a half, and I'm desperately trying to find a new location, and there is nowhere available with parking, and I don't understand why you guys don't realize how important parking is. So my main question for you, Mayor and Council, Will you direct city staff to genuinely engage with the communities directly impacted by capital projects and include their needs and potentially genius solutions before hiring the consultants and before signing the work contracts? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation, and I can assure you that for you in particular who were assaulted the other day, you have council's support and sympathy in this. I appreciate the challenges.
I don't feel like it takes 40 minutes for CSO offers to, and the police are doing nothing. There's no support for me. There really isn't.
I appreciate how challenging this is for you, and I want to thank you for your presentation on behalf of council. I would be less remiss, given that I've known you a very long time, how much you've given to encouraging other entrepreneurs, particularly women, in our downtown core for many years, and that is appreciated. Any questions for the delegation? Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Kevin Shaw, Mr. Shaw. I don't have to explain the drill to you, and welcome.
Thanks. Hello, Kevin Shaw, Victoria Crescent neighborhood. Just this morning, I see work has begun on the Terminal Avenue upgrades, and a decision was supposed to be made the middle of this month on a possible transit exchange component. That's why we're here before you now. Several of you are new to this council, so as a reminder, in late 2001, the city embarked on an extensive public engagement study for what to do with the 500 block of Terminal, the Gene Burns site, as well as Imprint and Black and Blue Tattoos buildings and the adjacent parking lot. To gain lots of input, and the city says it put out media releases, public and stakeholder e-notifications, a newsletter, community posters and large signs, website content, social media action, and word of mouth by mayor, council, city staff, all to spread the word about what people wanted. And as you've heard, it generated input. At the very top, 31% of the people surveyed wanted a commercial residential building on the Burns site. And you have now followed through and you're asking for proposals. Just over 6%, though, wanted a transit exchange in the 500 block of Terminal Avenue. That is the absolute last thing, the bottom of the pile, that anyone wants, as you've been hearing in this area. Protests have been held from residents, property owners, businesses, patrons, and shoppers. And like your own survey found, no one really wants a transit exchange right there. The area has, and still is, as you're heard and well aware, being hit by social disorder. Could have shown you a slideshow, but many of you know that. And just last night, a gathering at A&W Co-op, there was an overdose, a near death, and luckily the person was revived. Before, on the very laneway being looked at for the depot, the city had placed a porta potty there. And soon after, tents and lean-tos appeared, a bicycle chop shop, needles and drug paraphernalia surrounded it. The potty was set on fire and burned. The second potty was placed there, and yet again, everything kept on happening. This time the potty was burnt to the ground and never replaced. You will say this 500 block of Terminal Avenue is a central location, but with 5 bus shelters proposed and a public washroom, trouble will happen. Just this year, you had to remove a single bus shelter from Front Street, the other side of the Port Place Mall. Someone got hit with an axe. Security and police were constantly there before that, just trying to keep one bus shelter clear and safe. But daily it was taken over, and eventually someone got hurt. Are buses good? Of course. Do I take them? Yes. But the way social disorder and crime has taken over, we even need more community safety officers. The RCMP are run off their feet, paramedics and our very firefighters, many on PTSD. The transit union does not think this is a good location. They have voiced the very same concerns to me. So again, look at what your public survey said. And a good transit exchange can be placed in a better, not such a concentrated, intense area. The city has had to put up a fence surrounding the Italian fountain for 2 years now just across the street from the proposed exchange location. A person was stabbed to death recently across the street by the TD Bank and Mall. Again, this is a small, concentrated area of downtown where the homeless converge for the nearby Salvation Army. And a short block up the hill, the other side, there's the safe injection site that's just all been fenced in. A block to the south, so-called Safer Supply is handed out, and we know what's happened to that area of Victoria Road.
1 minute.
Those on our streets do need places to sit, to reside, to get help. Of course they do. Unfortunately, this proposed bus exchange is smack dab in the center that's being plagued by social disorder. Somewhere else will be much, much, much better to be chosen. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. I'm not seeing any questions of the delegation. Mr. Shaw, appreciate it as always.
As always, thank you all very much for your time, and thank you very much for helping run our great city. Fifth, what is it, the fifth now? I was told the fifth growing in Canada, so that's awesome. I just hope we can get some of this other stuff, a lid put on it. Thank you all.
Thank you. The next item, reports, development variance permit number DVP 00448-300 Howard Avenue. Mr. Holm? We'll skip Mr. Lindsay, shall we? The CAO's aide de camp.
Great. Thank you, Your Worship. Council, this application is a proposed variance to the city's off-street parking bylaw for development shown in red on the screen overhead. It's on 3rd Street, new multifamily building, mixed-use buildings, 2 of them here between Howard and Lambert on 3rd Street. What's proposed is parking variance related to a neighborhood pub in one of the commercial spaces in one of the buildings there. The city's bylaw requires 1 parking stall per 3 seats for a neighborhood pub. What is proposed here is 1 stall per 21 square meters. That works out to 13 stalls being provided for the neighborhood pub on the property, proposed neighborhood pub. If a pub were developed there, it would have to go through a liquor licensing process, which would actually see it, if it's a liquor primary application, would see it back before council. At this point, there is a proposed pub, requested parking variance to support the pub occurring there. The location is well situated for transit, obviously well serviced in with regard to amenities, all levels of school, Vancouver Island University. I think you know the location well, and as well as all of the city's rich recreational services in the area are in close proximity. So from a locational perspective, the parking variance is well supported. A parking study was submitted to support the application. The parking demand assessed for the pub was 14 spaces. 13 spaces are proposed. The parking study also recommended some transportation demand management measures to support the proposed variance, including additional short-term bicycle spaces, some weather-protected bicycle spaces, as well as a bicycle repair station, as well as a recommendation for a Pro Pass, which is a BC Transit sponsored pass that would an employer can voluntarily enter into to support transit use by employees. The applicant's also offering $10,000 towards pedestrian connectivity improvements in the area, which would likely go towards crossing on 3rd Street to cross to Watfield, and development and transit and pedestrian connections beyond that. I'm happy to take questions. I think the report explains it well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Holm. I'm going to request first counsel, if that's all right. Is there anyone here wishing to speak to development variance permit application number DVP 00448-300 Howard Avenue? I'm not. Yes, please. Come down, and if you can introduce yourself for the record.
My name's Robert James Cleland, and I would be the tenant. I'd be the chef of this location. To speak to it, I was a graduate of Malaspina University back in the day. I spent 4 years in this town, and I've worked everywhere from the Chemainus Tea House to being the chef at the Empress Room. I've traveled the country, and one thing that frustrated me was I really liked this town. I worked at the Maley House down in Cedar, loved this town, but I had to go elsewhere to get trained. I've been an instructor now out in Ontario, and I want to be able to bring Red Seals back here, make sure people that are homegrown stay here. I want to make sure they have the opportunities. We have a hospitality program where the kids are going out to Banff and Mumbai. They don't have the opportunities here. When we use the word pub, I mean, it is what it is called at this stage. It's going to be an experience. I met everybody in that location yesterday from the ages of 17 to 85. And I'm going to have food to support everybody. It's not about trying to get business from across town to come there. I want to make a local for that neighborhood. Having come from that neighborhood, where would I go? People would pile into cars, drive across town, probably make bad decisions. I don't want any of that. I'll work with car share programs to try to get everybody there with alternative modes of transport. And that's what I think we're hearing even in this meeting, is building that infrastructure into these little neighborhoods and making sure they're very well supported, and we can kind of grow as a group. I even realized there was houses just on the back. And one lady I met yesterday that came down, and her husband just couldn't find a way to go up. Well, the kind of place we're going to be is the one that will go take that food down to them. I won't do takeout, 100% I won't, because we cannot survive in this restaurant business with boxes going into our landfills and servers who can't make money. We're going to provide our staff with benefits. We're going to pay them living wages. The larger the seating capacity I have, the more I can keep costs down, which is something I heard very adamantly in that neighborhood, to have amazing food, but out of control prices of food costs, which we all know is happening. I have a strong passion. Obviously, I work for the company that built this building, and I have been pushing them for years to allow me to come here and do this. This is the first time in front of a council. Thank you very much for listening to me. And if you have any questions, that's why I'm here.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Not seeing any, thank you. And I see we have someone online, Ms. Gurry. If you could introduce yourself, sir, for the record.
Hi there, my name is Dave McGrath from WA Architects. Good evening, Mayor Krug, council members. I'd like to just thank, first of all, Jeremy and Elisa for mad panic to try to get onto video today, since all flights were canceled from Vancouver to Nanaimo. So thank you very much for that. Did get the link, obviously. Just a few things that I wanted to talk about this. I mean, we've done a lot of work in your city, and I personally love working in your city. We had just finished getting occupancy for DLX, which is the 180 units that you see in two buildings in front of you on 3rd. Really, really proud of that building, and this couldn't be the better place for and I want to just emphasize that it's a cantina is what we've been calling it, and somehow the pub moniker is kind of stuck to it, but it is an eatery / pub. So there is going to be a liquor license in it, but it is to cater to the immediate 180 residential units that are in this. Also, it is a neighborhood eatery. So out of all of those, 25% of the 180 are actually micro units. So they're very small units, and typically we don't see parking coming, much parking required for those. Just 5 points that I want to make on this: that we are meeting the OCP and City of Nanaimo's visioning for regards to reducing parking and offering alternate solutions. So as was mentioned previously, a $10,000 contribution is going to augment those for the city. We're providing a pub eatery in the community. So right now, the nearest one is actually quite far away. I believe it's on 7th. So that's why we want to emphasize neighborhood, like just, coming home from work, go down, grab a bite to eat, get a beer kind of thing. And our target patrons and customers are immediately like the neighborhood and the university, and as well as there's a development, just recent development across the street on 3rd. Cantina, as you heard from Bob, it is a local business and it will provide local jobs. Bus passes are being offered to staff and bicycle use is encouraged. So we've added a lot more bicycle stations, as well as covered area and a bike repair station as well. This is a much needed, in my opinion, a much needed service within this community. It'll have places for free Wi-Fi, people and students, which is one of the demographics being targeted here, have an opportunity to pull out their laptops, do a bit of work, have a bite to eat and maybe a drink, and then walk up to their units within the 180 units that we're proposing on here. I really strongly, obviously I'm working on this. I really like the architecture. I really like how the design has come about, and it's just location within already right next to a part of the walkway system and routes, pedestrian routes through this. I think it is the perfect location. Has an outdoor patio area as well that will service during the summer months. It's covered, so we could see heaters and being used winter as well. A vibrant addition to the community that is changing, and hopefully for the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm not seeing any questions for you, but Councillor Armstrong, you've been on the list for questions.
Yeah, for staff.
All right, there's no more persons wishing to speak to this particular application. Yes, sir, if you wish to. No, sorry, you're going to have to come down to the mic and introduce yourself if you want to make a submission. Sorry. This is what open and transparent democracy is all about.
Hi, so my name is Peter Statham, and I've personally been I've been homeless in Nanaimo, okay? So I've been firsthand experiencing like what's going on in the streets, and there's a lot of craziness out there, but there's also a lot of room for basically growth to happen. You know, you see a lot of individuals that have not gone to school or have fallen out of school or, you know, fallen out of like their daily life routines because of mental illness and what have it, right? So I've actually developed a plan that kind of ties everything together, and essentially, if we were to take, let's say, basically have an advertising campaign where it advertises free schooling to the homeless population in Nanaimo. We could then from there go through a screening process, which I can't explain to you right now because I don't have the time, but we just go through the screening process to determine which people would actually be eligible and likely to finish schooling.
I appreciate your comments, but we're speaking to a development permit application for a specific pub at this site.
Okay.
And it's not a general period. If you want to ask a question during question period at the end of the evening about an agenda item generally,
okay,
you're more than welcome to do so. But
I've got a big proposal, and I'm just wondering if this is the right place to propose it or time, or may I speak to you afterwards?
Yes, if there's time tonight, happy to chat afterwards, but this is, as I say, we're dealing with this specific item on the agenda.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But thank you. No, that's okay. That's okay.
Okay.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak to development variance permit application number DVP? Yes, go ahead, ma'am. Come on down. And if you could introduce yourself when you get to the mic. And you might want to lower the mic.
Thank you. My name is Rachel Gabay. I live at 515.
You can lower it down.
515 Armishaw Road. I'm just letting you know that I'm opposed with that pub coming up. Already we have a lot of traffic going through those paths and people smoking on those patio because they cannot smoke inside. And we're just here to let you know that we're opposed for that pub. Because we're just right behind. And thank you for the letter.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. I'm not seeing any questions. Councillor Armstrong, got a question for staff?
I just want to confirm that there's supposed to be 32 parking spots by policy, and they're asking for 14. Is that correct?
Through your worship. So the current calculation is 1 stall per 3 seats. At this point, our understanding, so there are 13 parking spaces available, which would, under the current bylaw, would service 39 seats. And you're correct, if what they're proposing is approximately, and we're not sure of the final number yet, approximately 96 seats, which would require, under the bylaw, 32 stalls. We won't know until the permit application comes in, the liquor license application as well for the pub, how many seats exactly will be there, but they anticipate approximately 96 seats, which would require 32 stalls. You're correct.
Thank you. Can I speak to it now? Yeah, I'll be opposed, obviously. That's just too much of a variance for me. I've been by the Lanceville pub, the Black Bear, Longwood, all of them, at least 20 to 30 cars minimum, all throughout the different times of the day. There is no alternative parking any place in the neighborhood. We already get complaints from that neighborhood about issues with parking. So for me, it's just far too many variances. We just heard from our previous delegations that the Queens is upset at the loss of parking because it's going to affect their business. We hear that from many, many businesses. So there's just, for me, I can't support this great of a reduction. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to this application? If not, Councillor Perino. Please.
Council issued development variance permit number DVP 448 at 300 Howard Avenue to reduce the minimum parking requirement for a proposed neighborhood pub as outlined in the proposed variance section of the staff report titled Development Variance Permit number DVP 00448 300 Howard Avenue dated 2023 July 24th.
And seconded by Councillor Brown. Do you wish to speak to it, Councillor Perino?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm struggling with this too. I think that it's a great idea to have a pub there. I have no problems with that whatsoever. And my concern is the number of parking places. And it's the problem is that it's the neighborhood that has to suffer with the lack of spots. If it's a busy pub, and I know it will be, just seeing the chef and what he wants to do, I just can see that this is going to be a fantastic place. So I really honor that, but my concern is that the residents don't want to have cars parking all over, and that is a concern for me.
Thank you. Councillor Gesselbrock.
Thanks, Your Worship. I think this is a really welcome commercial activity in this area. I think it's something that's really important to have, and I think that the request is super reasonable. And I personally, the less people driving to a pub, the better. So I appreciate the focus on having more transit and cycling infrastructure. And it's in an area that we really slated as being a corridor whose whole purpose is that there's, very good access for the density that's around there. So I think this is an excellent location and a great proposal, and I support it 100%. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Your Worship. Whenever somebody goes on a holiday to England or Europe, they always come back and say, "Oh, so wonderful! All the little neighborhood pubs and restaurants. Why isn't it not like that here?" So I'm going to support this because I think this is the type of thing that people in North America travel to experience in other countries and cherish. And I think there's a vision here that would serve new development is going in, but also a lot of the old development in that neighborhood in a really neat way. So I'm happy to support this. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Thorpe.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I honestly wish that I could support this because I think the concept is great, and I love the idea of it. But as Councillor Armstrong pointed out, I share her view that this parking variance, if we want to call it that, is simply too great. And we're not a little European village, and the reality is that most people, or a lot of people, are going to be driving, and we continually create parking and driving problems in our city by issuing variances like this. So no offense to the owners and developers, I wish I could support you, but to me this is just going to cause traffic issues, and I can't agree to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perino.
Sorry, Your Worship, if I could just ask a question through you of staff. So if let's suppose that this did not go in favor of the motion, what happens at that stage? Because I admit I'm struggling too. I'm very concerned that the level of variance is it's tough with. It's the sound. The number of parking stalls is concerning. There's no doubt about it. But I also, I mean, I'd love to see us be like Europe as well. I mean, I so agree with Councillor Brown. It's to have a restaurant and pub like this is just, it's perfect. But my concern is obviously the parking issue. What happens if it was turned down, if the motion was failed?
Thank you, through your worship. So if the request was turned down, the same couldn't be considered for 6 months, and Ms. Gurry could correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that's my understanding, that the same variance couldn't be considered for 6 months. The applicant could obviously come forward with something that complied with the parking bylaw, or bring forward another variance that's not identical.
Okay. And then if I could ask a second question of staff. You know the problems that we have with people regarding parking. Is this a reasonable request? Given staff experience, you see this every day, all day. We don't. We see it when it comes to the table. And I'm just wondering, Mr. Holmes, if you could tell us what your opinion is as far as, or Mr. Lindsay. Is this too large a variance, or are we overthinking it, or?
Through your worship, I think what I would say on this is, like many of these issues, council has long-term policy objectives of walkable, bikeable communities of mixed use, and this is a community that's under certainly a lot of transition. So you've seen new buildings here. There's a new building on the other side of the road. There's more buildings that are in for permits. More people living in this corridor. The idea is that over time, as we have higher density, that there'll also be services for those people. So yes, I can understand the concerns and the challenges in the interim with parking, but I think if we're ultimately to get to our goals of a community, of being a more walkable, diverse community, mixed use, that it's applications like this that'll help us get there. So staff would strongly support this application.
Well, just to say then finally, thank you, I appreciate that. I'm going to be voting in favor of this motion because I think it's an important addition to the neighborhood. And hopefully it will go well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to weigh in this tonight because I appreciate the concerns that have been expressed by the neighbors respecting people smoking, and it's a disgusting habit, and I agree with you entirely and never indulged. Having said that, and I'm not just reliant on the recommendations of staff or the presentations that have been made tonight, but as Councillor Brown has pointed out, and as the city policy indicates, we are trying to create neighborhoods where people can literally walk within reason to get to where they need to go, reduce their carbon footprint, get some exercise, get to know their neighbors. And as much as I'm well aware of and very conscious of the effects of alcohol, this is not just a pub. This is a place where people can get a meal and gather and exchange news. It's in the middle of what has become a much more concentrated area of population. Councillor Armstrong and Councillor Thorpe quite legitimately have pointed out the parking issues. And I can say this in all candor, there will be parking issues if the good folks of Departure Bay or Uplands Drive or, you know, Flagstone Way or whatever in the South End want to drive here because it's such a popular place. That will, to some extent, correct itself because people will say, there's no sense going to this place no matter how wonderful it is because I can never get parking. But the locals will be able to walk there. And candidly, the concept that we want to encourage parking in establishments that serve alcohol, I would argue from a philosophical perspective, is not a good one. I look back to the wonders of the Crowan Gate Pub. That was the first neighborhood pub licensed by the province of British Columbia nearly 50 years ago by the Dave Barrett government, and everybody thought it was wonderful. But it was built and designed and placed on the concept of having access to an automobile. There's not a house within 300 yards of that place as far as I'm aware, maybe even 400 or 500 yards. It was built, well, I see Rich, the CAO believes he might be closer, but it was built with the concept that you got there in a car. This is what a modern establishment in a modern city looks like. And I appreciate it. It's challenging for the neighborhood that's changing, and people with single-family dwellings in the neighborhood are going to not appreciate some of the crowding that will take place or all the strange faces. But this is the way that cities develop and grow. And I'd rather have you walking downstairs or a couple hundred yards to have a drink and a meal than I would you driving, as I say, like the Krogs from Departure Bay, even though the food may be wonderful. And I'm not saying I won't patronize it, but the concept behind this kind of establishment is to lure the people in the neighborhood and create a center in the neighborhood. I think there was the phrase used, the neighborhood suffers. You can argue that the neighborhood suffers in terms of what will no doubt be some parking issues, but I would argue that the neighborhood benefits by virtue of being able to enjoy a meal and a beer, as someone said earlier, in their neighborhood without having to drive to get there. So I'm going to support this. If I haven't inspired anybody else, and I hope I haven't, because we don't want to be here all night, all those in favor of the motion? Councillors Eastmere, Councillor Gesselbrock, Mayor Krog, Councillors Perino, Brown, and Manley, and those opposed, Councillors Armstrong and Thorpe. Motion carries. Thank you very much for the interesting debate. The next is Development Permit Variance Permit number DVP 454-505 8th Street. Mr. Holm again, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Another variance, but something completely different. This is a request to vary the required works and services in relation to a two-lot subdivision. The property is on the screen overhead, located on the corner of Bruce and 8th. It's split zoned currently, residential zoning, single-family residential zoning on the one side, and then you see the CS1, that's a community service zone on the other. That's the site of Salvation Army admin and the worship center there as well. And the property owner is Salvation Army. The proposal is a two-lot subdivision here along the zoning boundary, basically. Bolinas Housing Society, in this case, is the applicant for the development variance permit, and the request is to vary the required works and services in relation to a two-lot subdivision. I'll try and briefly summarize what's proposed here. It's a little bit complex, but I'll try and keep it simple. There are works and services typically required for a subdivision. Full frontage works would typically be required. And the request is to vary the required works on Bruce to basically waive the required works on Bruce. So no works required with the subdivision. They're proposing a modified cross-section fronting proposed Lot 2 on 8th Street. And that modified section would be sufficient to provide for pedestrian and cycling infrastructure, but would not be the full city standard. And then fronting on proposed Lot 1 would be the full city standard, the complete street standard, as per the Manual of Engineering Standards and Specifications. So you can get an idea from the drawing overhead of the sort of the scale, the relative scale of the different frontages. What would happen here too is effectively the variance would, if approved, would defer the frontage works on 8th Street to the time of development on Lot 1. At the time of development on Lot 1, as proposed, there'd be a covenant registered through the subdivision that would require full works on Lot 1, modified works fronting Lot 2 on 8th Street. And it's possible that development on Lot 2 in the future through building permit would also trigger frontage works, but for the purpose of the subdivision, those works would be deferred and modified as proposed here. The proposal, Bolinas Housing's proposal, is for their intention, they've stated, is to develop on Lot 1 affordable housing development. That would actually require rezoning of the property to a multifamily zone, which would be supported. Concept hasn't been brought forward. Application isn't being considered currently, but multifamily would be supported there under the official community plan. Of course, that would take rezoning to achieve that. The current zoning there is single-family residential. But at this point in time, the request is to vary the required works and services in relation to the subdivision and defer those to future development on Lot 1 and Lot 2. Happy to take questions. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone here wishing to speak to Development Variance Permit Application number DVP 454-505 8th Street? Mr. Moss, good evening. Good evening. And we promise not to sue for misappropriation of the city symbol.
I'm happy to turn it sideways if you like.
I wish I could turn sideways with my middle. It would be a most unattractive pose.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor Krogh and members of council, for the opportunity to share some additional thoughts regarding this development permit application. As you know, I'm Bob Moss. I'm a board member with Bolinas Housing Society, and I'm joined here tonight by Andrea Blakeman, our CEO, and also Darylyn Orstad and the team from Salvation Army are here as well. So happy to have them all here. So further to the comments shared with you in the middle of May, both Bolinas and Salvation Army are keen to move forward with the subdivision of the subject property and the intended purchase of the newly created Lot 1 by Bolinas for the development of new rental housing for those living independently on limited incomes. However, as previously noted, both Bolinas and Salvation Army need assistance from the city to make this subdivision and new housing financially feasible. As a first step, we truly hope that council will approve this development variance permit tonight. But in addition, we have also requested that the city provide financial contribution to ensure that the expenses for the required works and services are limited to $500,000. Staff's report notes that this request is premature, given that 3 points. 1, additional design and review is required to determine the details of the required works. 2, the property is not zoned for the proposed multifamily use. And 3, there is no commitment to provide affordable housing through the subdivision of the property. These are all legitimate concerns, without question. Regarding the final details of the required works and services, we submit that the city is the final decision maker on the scope of that work, which can be adjusted in order to meet the estimated budget of approximately $800,000, thereby limiting the city's financial contribution to approximately $300,000. With regard to the 2 remaining concerns, however, we propose that the city provide a commitment to provide the requested financial contributions subject to 2 things. First of all, Bolinas Housing Society having an unconditional agreement to acquire the proposed Lot 1 and, with the city's assistance, achieving rezoning for multifamily use. And secondly, subject to Bolinas obtaining a binding building permit to construct not less than 80 rental housing units on the proposed Lot 1 for the use of independent individuals and families on limited incomes. Our sense is that if that agreement to provide this financial assistance is subject to those 2 things, that would address the concerns that staff have laid out in the report. A commitment from the city to provide this financial contribution is critical, I should say, to Bolinas, since we need to commit a portion of our limited financial resources now in order to perform further due diligence and planning required to move this project forward. Providing such a conditional commitment now will encourage the Bolinas Board of Directors to move this project forward. So we ask you, please, to consider doing that commitment subject to those achievements. So, pleased to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Moss. In order, Councillors Perino and Eastmere.
Thank you, Your Worship, and a question through you to Mr. Moss. Can you talk to me about the market housing?
Yes, I can. The size of the proposed Lot 1 is sufficient to not only build the affordable housing that we're proposing, yes, but also it could accommodate some market housing, market rental housing behind. And our hope and expectation is that we can attract a developer to work with us to create that rental housing, which will not only provide some additional rental housing, but also will perhaps be able to reduce the cost of the affordable housing that we're proposing to build, because we would work together with that developer.
So is it, sorry, Your Worship, if indulge me, so is it definitely a separate project from what you're hoping to do as far as the affordable piece, the affordable rentals?
It most likely is. We haven't finalized that arrangement yet.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Eastmere.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. My question's along similar lines around the affordable piece. When you're talking about the affordable units, are you talking about tied to income, like 30% of their income is how much they pay for that unit? Or when you use the term affordable, are you talking about maybe just slightly below market rate levels? Like, what are you envisioning as far as affordable?
Yeah, thank you. Good question. So as you're aware, there's various levels of affordability, some tied to income, some low end of market. It likely will be in that location, the majority of it will be low end of market housing. And so we will look to try and achieve a substantial discount to market rates. Could there be some rent geared to income in there? Perhaps. Depends on the final design of the project.
Yeah, I appreciate hearing that clarification. I understand that there's like really tough constraints when you're trying to build rentals, period, to make them affordable at all. But yeah, I'd be really interested in seeing a push for the, tied to income rentals and including that in the project, and that would make it easier for me to be able to support the asks. But I think you raised a really good point about how to potentially address those point 2 and 3 that staff raised as potential concerns. I think that could be a good compromise. So thank you for that.
Councillor Brown.
Your Worship, just when appropriate, I have a couple questions for staff. So, but thank you to the delegation.
Thank you, Mr. Moss. You're off the hook.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a few. So the first one is indirectly related to the variance, but if you give me a little bit of runway, I do think it's tied to some of the content of the report and the request. Through you to staff, what I'm wondering here, there's an acknowledgement of maybe the nature of the request being premature, especially when it comes to rezoning. What I'm wondering here, if council makes any commitment to funding this request, whether in agreement or not, essentially if a rezoning request comes forward, would we be realistically be able to say that we're considering the proposal with an open mind prior to public hearing if we've already made a financial commitment?
Mr. Lindsay.
Your Worship, I think that's a very good question, and it raises the nature of our process. It talks, talking clearly about the need to go into rezonings with that open mind. But I think there is the ability, if council wanted to do something like this, that council could say support in principle would be, for example, language that could be used at this time. And I really think the final number would be dependent upon the details that I think are being asked for here tonight, and also the final details on the design of the project. So if council wanted to proceed, I think support in principle would give you that space to still go into the rezoning with that open mind.
Okay, thank you. And my second question out of my third, The last paragraph of the report reads, notwithstanding the above, considering the future development potential on both proposed parcels and that the frontage roads works will be secured on 8th Street through development of Lot 1 by covenant, staff support the proposed variance. I'm having trouble seeing why staff are proposing the variance. Throughout the report, I kind of see leaning the other way, yet the recommendation, so I'm just trying to understand the nature of the support.
Your Worship, I think staff are looking at the existing policies that we have, the guide variances. Also looking at, making sure that when we create lots through subdivision, that there is residual development potential on those lots so that future development will trigger it, but also trying to balance it with council's policy around affordable housing and recognizing, though nothing's secured here, if council wanted to take that first step, this would be a way to do it with limited, in my opinion anyways, limited risk that you would not be getting works and services because there is future development potential on both properties. It may be deferred, but you would still be, I believe, able to get those works.
Thank you. And final question, Your Worship. With respect to the points the applicant made, completely understand them, and then I also completely understand the sort of considerations presented in the staff report. What I'm wondering is, would it not be possible simply to covenant although zoning's not in place, simply covenant the requirement at the variance that affordable housing through some parameters be secured for proposed Lot 1?
Your Worship, as staff, we talked about that. Part of the challenge is the zoning's not in place to put a housing agreement in a bylaw, to adopt a housing agreement bylaw that would then secure housing that hasn't yet been approved. So we're in a bit of an odd chicken and egg kind of scenario here. But so, yeah, we did not bring forward that recommendation because we have not yet gone through the rezoning process.
Mr. Holm has his.
Yeah, thank you, through your worship, too. I'd maybe just add, and I mean, it was raised earlier by council, and the applicant did respond to, as far as the level of commitment is not clear at this point either, and there's a suggestion on how that can be addressed through processes going forward. So that was another issue that kind of made it premature to really secure that through between the use and the lack of clarity on the commitment. Those were kind of significant issues that I think would be better addressed later in process.
Okay, thank you. And I don't think there's a motion on the floor, so I won't express my support or opposition at this point.
Thank you very much, Councillor Perino.
Thank you, Your Worship, and question through to staff. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for bringing this forward, because I know this was a complicated one. And what makes it complicated is trying to make it work without having all of the information that you need. But I also know that Bolinas and the Salvation Army are working really hard to make this project work. And this is rental homes for people in need. And so that's why I really want to support it. They have a long history. Bolinas has a long history. It's very successful, and thank goodness they are in our community. My concern is exactly what you've talked about, Mr. Lindsay, is I think Councillor Brown has made some excellent comments, and the support in principle for me is key to making sure, because I've talked to some of the board members on Bolinas, and they're very concerned with going in without having something to say, we're going to have this 500,000 when the time comes. So by us putting a possible support in principle, where would we put that in on the motion, just so I know, because I want to make sure that we protect obviously the work that staff has done.
Or would it be appropriate, Mr. Lindsay, if I may jump in, that assuming council wishes to pass the motion as worded, then to consider a second motion afterwards?
Good point. Second point, okay. Well, I'm
At present, we don't have a motion on the floor.
I'm certainly prepared to put it on the floor if you like, Your Worship.
The recommended motion is on the floor.
Yes.
We have a seconder, Councillor Armstrong. Councillor Thorpe.
Unless Councillor Perino wishes to speak to the motion.
Yeah.
Oh, how kind of you? No, simply, I'm going to. This is about homes for people in need, and Bolinas and Salvation Army are committed to doing this. and we will be all over them if they're not. We know this is exactly what is needed in our community. So I'm so supportive of what they're trying to do, and they just need a helping hand. They don't need to have us do it all. They just want to have a little bit of help. So I really appreciate that. I will absolutely be voting in favor of this, but I will be requesting a second motion for a support in principle.
Thank you. Councillor Thorpe, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I find myself slightly torn on this issue as I did on the last one. I certainly I want to support Bolinas and the Salvation Army for their efforts, and I think they're very worthwhile. I think, and I want to thank Mr. Moss for his straightforward presentation, where he acknowledged the concerns that council might have, and they are very legitimate concerns, and I certainly feel those. So I appreciated his ideas around subject twos, and I'm interested further in our staff reaction to that. I'm concerned about precedent, and I have to say I have never been a fan of support in principle, because I don't think that means anything. Either council supports something or we don't. If you say you support it in principle, well, does that mean we're sort of waffling, depending on what further details come out, I suppose? So I'm not really comfortable with that. But I certainly feel strongly the concerns that are expressed around this. On the whole, I can probably be persuaded to see the benefit of supporting it. I think that probably outweighs the concerns, but I'll leave it at that and hear what other comments might come forward. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I have listened very carefully to what everyone's had to say tonight, both before the motion was made and after. And I'm going to speak now because I got the mic rolling, and then Councillor Manley wants to speak. I'm a great believer in process and fairness and law and rules. No surprise there. And what was being asked for tonight, I much appreciate. But I will support the recommendation of staff, which is the motion on the floor, and what council wishes to do thereafter. So be it. But Councillor Brown has raised some real issues. I mean, how does one come to an open mind when they're supporting in principle something like this? And I appreciate that Bolinas faces some challenges and has concerns, and I'll certainly support this. Like Councillor Thorpe, I'm going to have to be persuaded that it's appropriate to consider a motion to support in principle, because I think it has some consequences, and I'm not entirely satisfied that those questions and concerns that I have can be answered here tonight. No offense by staff, but may require legal opinion or whatever the case may be. It's a bit of a challenge, and I'll certainly look forward to hearing what others have to say, but I will support the motion that is on the floor. Councillor Manley, then Councillor Brown, then Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Your Worship. Sorry to put my hand up after you started speaking. I'm curious about this motion because it says that we're supporting the subdivision as outlined in the proposed variance. So what motion are we going to bring forward after we've already supported this variance? I'm unsure of that. So I'm wondering whether this motion should in fact be amended so that we get what we're asking for from it. Like we've heard that there was some subject twos. Are we asking, like through you to staff, are we asking for a second, is the proposal for a second motion with subject twos in it?
So, Mr. Lindsay.
So, Your Worship, in the hopes of not making this more confusing than necessary, I think there's really two fundamental issues in front of council tonight. One is, do you want to support the development variance permit and reduce the works and services for the subdivision? The second request that's come in is, would council be willing to make a monetary contribution to offset the cost for those works and services in exchange for affordable housing on parcel 1? And our suggestion in the staff report, and that continues to be staff's recommendation, is that you deal with the variance now and the appropriate time to deal with the request for participation from a monetary perspective would be later when we had more details, like exactly the level of affordability and number of units. Council normally wants that information. What I was saying earlier was, and I think, Your Worship, we should deal with that first motion. If there's a second motion, and I was asked if council wanted to do it tonight, I was trying to find a way, the way you could do it is in principle. I think there's other ways we could talk about if council wanted to do it in advance of the rezoning, and maybe it would be appropriate if council wanted to do it to first ask for a staff report that would come back to finance and audit. But I would suggest dealing with the first question, which is the works and services question.
So, you know, I support the proposal to do something with this land to get affordable housing on it. One thing that I'm always concerned about is this idea of affordable being deemed as the bottom of the market. Where is the bottom of the market? The market keeps on going up and up and up, and the bottom of the market is unaffordable. It's not affordable housing. So affordable housing to me is tied to income, and that's the way it's defined. It's you know, anything above 30% of what you're earning is not deemed to be affordable. And so those are concerns that I have. I've seen other buildings go up in this community that were deemed to be affordable that I would not consider affordable. So I'm always concerned about how that word is used in relation to housing and tied to a market that is really out of control. So yeah, I'm a bit shaky on this myself, I'd say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brown and Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Your Worship. One last question through to staff here. Just so I'm clear in my understanding that if this variance is granted, it essentially applies at the subdivision or the requirements through subdivision, not necessarily the requirements through building permit for frontage works.
Mr. Holm.
Yes, through Your Worship, that's correct. Okay. So this applies strictly to the subdivision, the works and services required through subdivision. Thank you. So yeah, at this time, I'm going to support this variance request. I worry that some of this conversation in general is straying away from sort of the use and the intended use to the user, and that I think is highly concerning at this stage, because we're not actually talking about the construction of affordable housing and things like that. We're talking about some subdivision that essentially has no security if there's a change in ownership. And despite best intentions, change in ownerships do happen all the time. With that said, I'm going to support the variance and optimistic that this will advance to a stage where council can make the appropriate decisions to weigh the use and the much needed affordable housing in our community, and also any role that council or the city as a corporation may play in helping facilitate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you. Yeah, I will be supporting this. I have no problem with the term in principle because I support a lot of things in principle until I get more information, and then I've been known to change my mind. Same thing with the public hearing. Right now I may support this, but more information may come forward later, and I have no problem changing my mind then either. So I'm not concerned about this going to public hearing. I would like more information, as everybody has later, as to what they will do for the housing. But for me, this is totally supportable at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The motion is on the floor. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you very much. My sense, Councillor Perino.
Sorry, Your Worship, and so many good comments, and I just want to ask a question through you to Mr. Lindsay. So, do we put a motion on the floor, support in principle, or do you feel that we should be sending this back for a further, what's the language that I'm looking for here? You know what I'm trying to do?
Your Worship, staff's recommendation is that the best way to give you certainty is to go forward with the rezoning application, and we'd have more details about the number of units, and we would deal things like the address what is affordable. So when we came back to council and we were asking for a contribution, we could show what you're getting in exchange of that. That continues to be our recommendation. If council wanted to move forward ahead of that, I think you have a couple of options. I think one is to say support in principle tonight, but I think probably the better option would be to ask for staff to bring back a report in advance of the rezoning that looked at opportunities for the city to contribute to the works and services. And we would bring that back to an upcoming finance and audit meeting, and that could happen before, at this point we don't have a rezoning application, but could happen before the rezoning was considered by council, if that's what council.
Exactly what you just said, the latter option, I'd like to move. If I can get a seconder.
Move for a report.
Move for a report.
I'm wondering if this is the time for a report, and before someone seconds it, let me put it this way. What we're being asked to do tonight, and forgive the horrible analogy, is essentially to support a horse. But we don't know whether that's a thoroughbred, or a pony, arguably, or a Clydesdale, and whether or not it turns out to be one of those, who knows. But if we move, I think, more quickly, as much as we want to assist in the potential of this project, move too quickly, we may look like one end of the horse, if you get my drift, as opposed to moving with the intelligence of the other end of the horse. So
you're
for what it's worth, I'm not likely to support any motions tonight until we work a bit through process, and I appreciate that may be a disappointment to the fine people assembled here, all of whom I know and do amazing work in the community, but I think it would be premature.
It's
But
their
you're
board.
welcome to make that motion if you wish.
It's their board of directors that I'm trying to say to them, you keep moving forward with this. We're behind affordable housing options, and you're bringing forward an option. That's what I'm trying to do, is give them the assurance that we'll be there for them when the time comes. Oh, and I can see it.
I don't think that requires a motion.
I don't know.
And Ms. Blakeman, if
No.
you're attempting to address the audience, you're going to have to ask my permission, but if you ask for it, I'll probably give it to you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm sitting
Your
back-
worship, if I could just.
Do I offer? Do I stay put?
There is a motion on the floor, so if she does have something to say, or there isn't a motion.
There's
it's
not a
been,
motion.
There is
It's
no
been
motion.
moved, but has it been seconded?
That has not been seconded.
Okay, then okay.
Yeah. I'm offering.
Exercising my enormous powers.
Yes.
Thank you for your indulgence, Mayor and Council. Andrea Blakeman, is there any questions around what is affordable housing? Are there questions like that I can help wade through quickly?
That's not going to be the issue, but thank you.
No.
Okay.
No, it's okay. It's process.
You have a very supportive council. The issue here is process and proper process and playing by the rules, if you will, no matter how outstanding you think the potential concept might be.
I'll withdraw my.
You don't have to withdraw it. No one seconded it.
My concern is I don't want it to be seen as a negative, and that's an.
I'll second your motion.
Question?
Councillor Gesselbrock, if this motion doesn't go the way you want and it's defeated, it's going to send the wrong message.
That's my concern. I'm going to withdraw my motion because I don't want either one of these organizations to, for 1 second, believe that we're not 100% with them. They just need to get their work further along. That's all. I appreciate that, Councillor Gesselbrock, but I'll withdraw the motion.
Thank you. The motion is withdrawn. The motion that we passed stands. Ms. Gurry, it's past 9 o'clock. If council wishes to push through, we can, if that's the wish. Otherwise, we should be taking the break. Let's take a break. 10 minutes. Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone who attended so far tonight.
Madness stops.
This is the 2018 redux of the lighting at Nanaimo's historic bastion. I've had the pleasure of being part of the relighting project on this amazing building in downtown Nanaimo. So
Not to snack in the evenings.
I'm with you, Ian.
All right, council, if we can reconvene, development permit application number DP 1282-6201 Oliver Road. Mr. Holm again, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll be really brief on this one, recognizing time, and we have delegates here as well. This is a 35-unit multifamily development, the corner of Uplands and Oliver Road. You can see outlined in red. And if you could please scroll through the site plan, parking plan, building elevations as we go through in building perspectives, attachments C, D, and E, that would be helpful. Thanks. So what's proposed here is 35 units in a 5-story building form. You can see the site plan overhead. Of the 44 parking spaces, 36 are located under the building. And so residential 1 and 2 bedroom units proposed here. Obviously well located relative to services, and the building form is contemporary. Surrounding Longwood community is consistent with the form and the quality and materials proposed here. The building massing, as I said, is 5 stories. There are a couple of variances proposed, minor variances. Retaining wall, combined retaining wall and fence height variance, a minor variance of 1.1 meters. Building height, minor variance of 1.5 meters. Landscape buffer variance, minor variance again on the north side. And a parking stall variance of one stall requested. So the required parking, 45 stalls, and proposed are 44. Happy to take any questions. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I understand, Mr. Beald, you're here tonight, but to answer questions only, if council has any questions. Mr. Beald, the representative of the owner and the architect. Councillor Armstrong?
I want to move the recommendation, and I want to state, for the second time, I'll be voting for a parking variance.
It's good to know that miracles occur not just in the Bible stories. Councillor Eastmere is seconding. Thank you very much. Councillor Brown, you wish to say something?
I have a question, Your Worship, through you to staff. This is kind of crazy. Councillor Armstrong voting for a parking variance, and I'm going to ask why a bike lane is required. I'm just wondering where the heck this bike lane is going to. It's like,
is there a full moon tonight?
Yeah. It's just, if it just goes to the highway, there's like nothing there. If I'm
Sure, there is Uplands.
Sorry, can you give us a hint of where it talks about the bike lane in the report?
It just shows it on the plan. It was an amendment to the landscape plan.
So Your Worship, on what I would say on that, then it might show up on the landscape plan, but after the development permit goes through, the next step would be with the building permit would be the detailed design of the frontage works and services. So at that time, there would be they would finalize the road improvements, and they would try to integrate the roadworks into the existing infrastructure. So I wouldn't rely on that drawing to say necessarily that's the final design for works and services, unless Mr. Holm knows something that I don't know.
Just to add, the standard would require a bike lane.
Okay.
But the details would have to be sorted out at a later time.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious because just the location and knowing that area well. So, but happy to support this application.
Thank you very much, Councillor Brown. I'm not seeing anyone else. The motion's been seconded. All those in favor? And opposed? Councillor Gesselbrock, you're in favor? Yes? Thank you. All right, motion carries. Thank you very much. The next is D, rezoning application number RA 486-1044 and 1048 Old Victoria Road. Mr. Holm, Lindsay? Mr. Holm?
Yes, thank you. Rezoning application, and this is in the south end of the community and off Old Victoria Road and Melidio Way and bordering the Island Highway. If you could bring up the site concept plan and conceptual building elevations. Again, this is rezoning, so these are conceptual. What's proposed here is actually rezoning from single residential to high-tech industrial, I3, which is a high-tech industrial compatible with the light industrial designation in the city plan. A number of uses are supported there that are compatible with city plan policy. In this case, the concept is for mini storage on the site, but again, a number of uses are compatible with OCP policy. Uses are supported under the I3 proposed zone. The applicant's proposing a monetary contribution to the city's housing legacy reserve, as well as local parks improvements. Conditions of rezoning include community amenity contribution, BC Energy Step Code commitment in alignment with council's policy, road dedication, covenant restricting access to the property to Melidio Way, as well off-site works and services, and lot consolidation are recommended as conditions of rezoning. Of course, if this is supported at these readings, it would proceed to public hearing. But happy to take any questions if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I understand Drew Fisher here is from Westmark Construction Ltd., but to answer questions only. Any questions for Mr. Fisher? Not seeing any. Councillor Perino, please.
Can I put all three motions on the floor at one time, or do they need to be done separately? One at a time. A motion that zoning amendment bylaw 2023 number 4500.212 to rezone 1044 and 1048 Old Victoria Road from single dwelling residential R1 to high-tech industrial 13 pass first reading.
Seconded. Councillor Manley. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Councillor Perino, please.
That zoning motion that zoning amendment bylaw 2023 number 4500.212 pass second reading.
Seconded. Councillor Armstrong. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries.
Your Worship, if I could just clarify with staff, Mr. Lindsay, Mr. Holm, I think it's to high-tech industrial I3, not 13. Is that correct?
Oh, sorry. I apologize. I3.
Thank you. So that's fine as long as the record will
Yes.
reflect that. Yeah.
We're all speaking the same language, just don't necessarily read it.
Just didn't. I thought 13. I thought that's an odd one. Thank you, Your Worship. And the final one is motion that council direct staff to secure the conditions related to zoning amendment bylaw 2023 number 4500212 as outlined in the conditions of rezoning section of the staff report titled rezoning application number RA486 1044 and 1048 Old Victoria Road dated 2023 July 24th. Should council support the bylaw at third reading?
And seconded. Councillor Armstrong. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. And then in item E, council policy guiding principles for parks, recreation, and culture fees and charges. Mr. Harding.
Thank you, Worship. We hope this is our last of our housekeeping requirements under the new fees and charges bylaw that council adopted a few months ago. In this, we're asking two things from council. One is to update council's policy on the principles of parks, recreation, culture fees and charges, and it also requires an amendment to the facility development reserve fund. So we're asking for council adopting the changes as well as first three readings of the changes to the facility development reserve fund. And if there's any questions, I'd be pleased to answer, as would Ms. Osborne, who's here.
Thank you very much. Not seeing any. Councillor Perino.
Thank you, Your Worship. Motion that council endorse the guiding principles for parks, recreation, and culture fees, charges, and rentals, council policy COU 235 is attached to the 2023 July 24th report by the Director of Recreation and Culture.
And seconded. Councillor Thorpe. All those in, all those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Councillor Perino.
Motion that Facility Development Reserve Fund Amendment Bylaw 2023 number 7217.01 housekeeping and amendment pass first reading.
Seconded. Councillor Thorpe. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Councillor Perino.
Motion that Facility Development Reserve Fund Amendment Bylaw 2023 number 7217.01 pass second reading.
Seconded. Councillor Thorpe. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries.
And finally, motion that Facility Development Reserve Fund Amendment Bylaw 2023, number 7217.01, pass third reading.
Seconded, Councillor Thorpe. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Ms. Gurry, we have no bylaws tonight, no notices of motion. We do have some other business, and the first is the correspondence from the Ombudsman. And some have suggested I shouldn't do this, but I wanted it put on the agenda for a very simple reason. This city did pass through a period of time where the Ombudsman's office was well acquainted with the city of Nanaimo. And we recently received a letter on July the 11th indicating that the Ombudsman's quarterly reports for July 1st, 2022 to March 31st, 2023, in other words, 3/4 of a year, we had 4 inquiries relating to complaints to the city of Nanaimo. We had complaints with no investigation whatsoever, 3 of them. We had early resolution investigations, a fat 0, and the same with complaint investigations, a big fat 0. So I want to give compliments to the staff of the city and the Legislative Services Department for the good work they're obviously doing in ensuring that the public generally and people served by the city of Nanaimo get the service they deserve and want and aren't complaining about it. So quite sincerely, it is a real compliment to staff. The next is the correspondence from Black Press Media, re-support for local news media. And that letter likewise is in our package. And it's a request from Black Press locally. And I'm wondering if anyone from Mr. McHugh, I'm wondering if anyone cares to make a motion respecting this or consider making a motion in due course. What they're asking for is for the City of Nanaimo to show support for local news media by following the example of the province of British Columbia, the government of the province of Quebec, and the federal government, and stop all advertising with Meta platforms, Facebook and Instagram, and asking that you direct staff to divert the portion of your advertising budget spent on Meta to invest in local news media. Ms. Gurry, as I understand it, we've spent the grand total of what in the last year or so? If you can give a little report here.
Thank you, Worship. So yes, I looked into this after receiving the correspondence, and we, according to the Statement of Financial Information for 2022, we spent close to, well, over $113,000 for Black Press Media, and we spend approximately a very minimal amount of money for Facebook and Instagram, up to $2,000 last year, and that's on boosts for our posts. So it's a minimal amount of money, but I also know that my staff are looking at ways in communications to support local media and ways to use our channels to promote their news sources and provide the links to their sites, to our local sites as well as all major local NBC news outlets. So we're looking at other ways to support as well as financially, given that we spend minimal amount of money on Facebook and Instagram. So that is the numbers that you're looking at, should there be a motion tonight.
So to put it in simplest terms, of the total that we're spending less than 2%. Thank you. Councillor Thorpe. Oh, sorry, Councillor Perino. That was my fault.
It's all right.
I'm not sure if, thank you, Your Worship, not sure if there's a motion forthcoming, but I'll just declare that I am a contract employee of the local Black Press, so I should probably recuse myself.
That's quite true.
What's the motion?
That what they're requesting here, let me just find it here. That we follow the example of the province of British Columbia, the federal and Quebec governments, and stop all advertising with Meta platforms, Facebook and Instagram, with the exception of boosting Black Press stories. We are also, and then we would direct that portion that we spend on Meta to boost local media stories. So let's take the $2,000 and boost local media stories that relate to the city.
Is there a seconder?
No, okay. I tried.
Well, I can second. Councillor Manley, you wish to speak to it?
Yeah, I think like if I'm in favor of not spending money on Facebook or Instagram, with the exception of boosting stories that cover city council that are put out by the bulletin.
Thank you. Inspirational tonight. We have Councillors Brown, Armstrong, Perino, and Eastmere.
Your Worship, I would have been very comfortable withdrawing advertising from the Meta platform, very comfortable other levels of support, but to redirect money to a single company is extremely problematic in my mind, especially if it's about boosting posts related to City Council. I think both accounts are extremely problematic and would be very irresponsible. So I simply cannot support this.
Would you care to make a motion to amend?
I think that would be changing the intent of the motion, so I would be more comfortable voting in opposition.
Sorry, more comfortable?
Simply voting in opposition. I think the intentions of what I would put forward and support is very different from what Councillor Manley put forward.
I'm going to let Councillor Manley speak to this before I get to Councillors Armstrong, Perino, and Eastmere. Councillor Manley?
I will amend the motion to read like what it says here.
You can move an amendment.
I'll move an amendment that it simply says that we follow the example of the province of British Columbia and the federal and Quebec governments and stop all advertising with Meta platforms, Facebook and Instagram.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councillor Brown. Any discussion on this? Councillor Armstrong and then Councillor Eastmere.
You know, my issue with this is what is the definition of advertising, number one. We saw when we did our community surveys that a lot of people get their information on what's going on in the city through Facebook. Doesn't mean we have to boost it, but I know I share stuff all the time about what's going on in the city, and that's the only place they get their information from. So can I tell you if it was boosted by somebody else before it got to me? I don't know. So does that mean if we do this, does that mean that I'm now prohibited from boosting it on my site? I know a lot of times some people say it's for money, others say it's not. So I think the whole thing is problematic, so I just can't support. Thank you.
Councillor Perino?
Thank you, Your Worship. The struggle, I'm having very similar struggle as Councillor Armstrong is. It's so minimal. I mean, we're doing what, $113,000 with Black Press, and a possible 2,000, and we're concerned about that. I think we are blowing something out of the water that I don't think we need to worry. I support Black Press 100 times over, and I think what we do is so minimal that I'm not sure why we're worried about it. I won't be voting in favor of this.
Councillor Eastmere.
Thank you. I struggle with this because I am a huge supporter of local journalism and local media. It's super important for people to be able to access information about what's happening in their community. The move that BC made came after the federal and Quebec government suspended advertising. That's in response to Facebook and Instagram's announcement that they're blocking Canadian news. So the issue here is that people are going to be going onto Facebook and Instagram and they're not going to be seeing those traditional media sources that they used to see. I think that's an important gap that the city needs to continue to provide information through these platforms to residents, because that is one major way that people get information. It's on social media. And if the news sources aren't going to be there anymore, then who is left to provide the accurate information if not the city, and us boosting our own programs and information that's of critical importance to our residents. So I see a role for both, and I'm really happy to hear those numbers. Like I would have imagined that the advertising dollars for Meta would be much higher. So I'm really shocked to hear it's so low, frankly, and happy to hear that we're supporting Black Press to the tune of over $110,000 a year in advertising. That's substantial. So yeah, I appreciate the intent this letter from Black Press, and I hope that they continue to invest in true local journalism. And I will not be supporting this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Manley. Ms. Gurry.
Thank you, Worship. I wanted to clarify a couple of things. So we don't actually spend advertising dollars on Facebook or Instagram, and boosts of our posts, our City of Nanaimo posts that we want to reach a larger audience. So we'll spend $20 or $40 and try to boost how far it's going and how many people the post is reaching. We don't currently share other local media or BC news media on our Facebook page. And with this Bill C-18 that could possibly be coming into effect, it will, and it has already started with Google and Meta, affecting news media being able to be found when you Google it. You have to go directly to their source, which would be the issue. You'd have to go directly to Nanaimo News Bulletin website or their Facebook page themselves, but it would still be available there. So staff have come up with ways to try to support local media should that happen, and where we can provide links to their pages, either Facebook and or their website, and knowing that our Facebook channel is still going to be able to have what we normally have on there, as well as we can direct people where to go to get local news. We are going to be looking at all of that. So I just wanted to provide some clarification that we don't actually advertise on those sites. The boosts are just to promote and try to get farther. And Nanaimo News Bulletin is our only local paper, as you all know. So yes, we do spend significant advertising dollars and posting notices, et cetera, on it.
So it would be a no-cost gesture for us to stop advertising with them because we're not spending any money now. Works for me. Councillor Manley?
I would say that the motion is moot. Thank you for the clarification, Ms. Gurley.
Well, I'm going to vote for the motion anyway, just because I'm feeling quite contrary to 10. All those in favor? Councillors Manley, Mayor Krogh, those opposed? The rest of you, you win, we lose.
Yes. Right on.
Is there anything for question period?
I vote with Leonard all the time. Come on.
Is there nothing for question period? Well, we know what the next motion is. Move to adjourn, Councillor Perino, seconded Councillor Brown. All those in favor, should have called Councillor Thorpe back, but I'm sure he doesn't mind. Any opposed?